That water isn't safe, sir. The sentence was so quiet that no one at the Halston estate heard it. Billionaire Adrian Halston did. He turned from the ribbon-cutting platform and looked toward the edge of the ornamental lake, where 12-year-old Maya Lewis stood in mud-stained sneakers beside a row of rose bushes her father had planted that morning. Around them, reporters raised cameras. Investors held champagne glasses. Children from the Halston Learning Center were waiting to release paper boats into the water. As part of the ceremony, Adrian smiled politely. "What did you say?" Maya pointed at the lake. "That water isn't safe, sir." A few guests laughed. Victor Crane, Adrian's business partner of 23 years, stepped forward in a gray suit. "She's the gardener's daughter," he said. "Kids hear one science term at school, and suddenly every pond is toxic." Maya did not move. She was holding a glass jar filled with water from the lake. An oily rainbow floated across the surface. Adrian's smile disappeared. Victor took the jar from her hand before Adrian could examine it. The irrigation crew stirred up sediment. Nothing more. Then a white koi fish rolled onto its side near the reeds. A second fish followed. The paper boats were already being handed to the children. Maya looked at Adrian. "My dad told me never to accuse somebody without proof," she said. "So I brought proof." She reached into her backpack and pulled out a folded laboratory report. Victor Crane went pale before anyone had read the first line. 3 weeks earlier, Maya had been sitting beneath an elm tree, behind the Halston Estate's greenhouse, labeling jars of soil, while her father argued with a sprinkler valve. Samuel Lewis had worked as head gardener on the estate for 11 years. He knew which roses survived frost, which oak roots lifted stone paths, and how much water the south lawn absorbed before the drainage channels overflowed. He also knew his daughter could notice things adults walked past. Maya loved plants, insects, weather maps, and chemistry. Her mother, Renee, had been a high school science teacher before dying from ovarian cancer 4 years earlier. Renee used to bring home discarded laboratory glassware and let Maya test rainwater at the kitchen table. After Renee died, Samuel kept the habit alive. Their cottage stood on the far edge of the Halston property as part of his employment. Samuel never pretended they were wealthy, but he had made the place theirs. Tomatoes climbed the fence. Wind chimes Renee had built from old measuring spoons hung over the porch. Maya's homemade weather station occupied half the roof. That afternoon, Samuel twisted the valve again. "Still clogged," he muttered. Maya looked up from her samples. "It isn't clogged." Samuel wiped his hands on his trousers. "It refuses to spray. That usually qualifies. The pressure is too low, which means something is taking water before it reaches this line." Samuel looked toward the irrigation map nailed inside the greenhouse. The estate drew water from 2 sources: municipal supply for drinking and an underground retention reservoir for gardens, fountains, and the ornamental lake. The southern irrigation line had lost pressure twice that week. Samuel assumed maintenance was repairing something. Maya had checked. No repair order existed. She held up one of her jars. "This soil smells weird." Samuel sniffed it. "Like fertilizer, not our fertilizer." The sample came from beneath the hedge, separating the estate from an unused service road. Maya added a test strip. The paper changed color. Samuel frowned. "What does that mean?" "High nitrate. From the roses? We do not use enough there." Samuel crouched beside her. "Your mother would already have 6 theories. I have 8. That is because you inherited her inability to stop." Maya smiled. Then a black tanker truck moved slowly along the service road beyond the hedge. It carried no company logo. Samuel stood. The truck stopped near a locked maintenance gate that had not been used in years. A man in a security jacket opened it. The tanker disappeared behind the trees. Maya looked at her father. "Is that one of ours?" "No." "Should it be there?" "No." Samuel took out his phone and photographed the license plate. That evening, he emailed the estate operations office. He received an answer 20 minutes later from Victor Crane's assistant. Private infrastructure work. No action required. Samuel read the message twice. Victor was not responsible for gardening. He was responsible for Halston Global's industrial division. Why would his office answer a landscaping question? The next morning, Samuel found the service road camera pointed at the sky. Someone had loosened its mounting bracket. He reported that too. This time, no one replied. Adrian Halston arrived at the estate 2 days later. He had spent most of the year traveling between Singapore, Zurich, and New York, overseeing Halston Global's transition into renewable manufacturing. At 57, he was known for turning a family shipping company into a technology empire. The estate was less home than headquarters with bedrooms. Adrian's wife had died 6 years earlier. His adult son lived abroad. Adrian filled silence with work. Victor Crane filled the spaces Adrian ignored. They had met at university and built their first company from a rented warehouse. Victor handled deals, suppliers, governments, and crises. Adrian designed strategy. For more than 2 decades, investors treated them as inseparable. The new Halston Learning Center was Victor's idea. It would serve children from 3 nearby towns, offering free tutoring, technology labs, and environmental science programs. The opening ceremony was scheduled for the following Saturday. Victor wanted the ornamental lake cleaned, landscaped, and used as the centerpiece. Make it look alive, he told Samuel. Samuel stood beside the lake with a clipboard. It is alive. Victor looked at the reeds. I mean expensive. Samuel did not smile. The water level dropped 4 inches this week. Fill it. The reservoir pressure is already low. Then use whatever line is available. The drinking supply. Victor looked at him as though the question was irritating. You are the gardener, Samuel. Solve gardening problems. Maya was nearby transplanting seedlings for her school volunteer credit. She watched Victor walk away. He does not like questions. Samuel kept his eyes on the lake. Some people confuse questions with disrespect. Do you? No. Good. She crouched near the water. 3 tiny frogs floated near the bank. Not swimming, dead Maya's stomach tightened. She used a spoon to collect one into a jar. Samuel turned. Do not touch that. I used gloves. I mean, do not take it home. Mom would. Your mother once stored pond algae beside orange juice. We are not repeating all her decisions. Maya looked toward the water. Something is wrong. Samuel knew it too. That evening, he requested an independent water test through the estate's environmental contractor. The request was canceled within an hour. Reason: duplicate testing already scheduled. No one told him who had scheduled it. Maya checked the lake herself using the simple kits Renee had left behind. The results showed abnormal nitrates, solvents, and a chemical reading she could not identify. She searched public environmental databases and found similar combinations associated with metal finishing and battery manufacturing. Halston Global operated a battery materials plant 11 miles north. Victor Crane supervised it. Maya showed Samuel. He stared at the screen. Do not jump from a test strip to accusing a company. I'm not. You are thinking it. Thinking is allowed. Samuel sighed. Yes. He contacted an old friend named Dr. Elena Park, who taught environmental chemistry at the community college where Renee had worked. Elena agreed to test 3 samples quietly, 1 from the lake, 1 from the south irrigation line, 1 from a drainage ditch near the service gate. Do not tell anyone yet, Samuel said. Maya nodded. Because we need proof. Because proof protects people who ask difficult questions. The laboratory report arrived 4 days before the ceremony. Elena called Samuel instead of emailing it. Where did you collect this water? Samuel's grip tightened around the phone. Why? It contains elevated nickel, manganese, lithium salts, and an industrial solvent used in battery processing. Maya watched his face. How dangerous? The lake sample should not touch skin. The drainage sample is worse. Samuel looked toward the learning center, where workers were assembling tables for children. Can it become airborne? Not like this. But ingestion is dangerous, and prolonged exposure matters. Could it contaminate wells? If the source continues. Samuel closed his eyes. Their cottage used municipal water. Several neighboring farms used wells. What do I do? Report it to the environmental agency. Samuel looked toward the estate offices. I will. He submitted the report to the state environmental hotline and requested immediate inspection. Then he called Adrian's office directly. He never reached Adrian. Victor arrived at the greenhouse 20 minutes later. No jacket. No smile. He held a printed copy of the report. Samuel's blood went cold. How did you get that? Everything involving Halston property reaches me. That report went to a state agency. Victor closed the greenhouse door behind him. You are making a serious mistake. There are industrial chemicals in the lake. There are trace compounds below emergency threshold. Dr. Park said, the water is unsafe. Dr. Park is a community college instructor, not an industrial risk officer. She has a doctorate in environmental chemistry. Victor stepped closer. You have worked here 11 years. Your daughter lives here. You have stability because Adrian trusts the people I put around him. Samuel understood the warning. Are you threatening my job? I am reminding you that accusation has consequences. I did not accuse anyone. Victor placed the report on the potting table. Then do not start. Where are the chemicals coming from? Victor's eyes hardened. Cancel the complaint. No. The answer surprised both of them. Samuel's heart pounded, but he continued. Children are going near that lake Saturday. Not if you do your job and keep them on the paths. The ceremony includes paper boats. Victor looked annoyed rather than concerned. We can remove that activity. You need to close the lake. I need you to understand your position. Samuel thought of Renee. She used to say people revealed themselves most clearly when they believed somebody else needed them too much to walk away. I understand it. Victor picked up the report. Good. No, Samuel said. I understand yours. Victor stared at him. Samuel took the paper back. Get out of my greenhouse. Victor left. The next morning, Samuel was suspended for alleged misuse of estate resources. His access badge stopped working. Security told him he had 48 hours to leave the cottage pending investigation. Maya found him packing gardening books into boxes. What happened? Work problem. That means Victor. Samuel kept packing. Do not get involved. He is trying to make us leave before Saturday. Maya, the water is still unsafe. I know. Then we have to tell Mr. Halston. I tried. Try again. Samuel stopped. You are 12. That is not an answer. It is when the person on the other side can destroy our housing, my job, and every reference I need to find another one. Maya's eyes filled. So we stay quiet? No, I filed the report. Dr. Park has copies. The agency will investigate after the ceremony. Samuel looked away. Maya understood. The inspection had been scheduled for Monday. The ceremony was Saturday. Hundreds of guests and children would be on the property before anyone official tested the lake. That night, Maya heard a truck. She looked through her bedroom window. Headlights moved behind the hedge. The unmarked tanker returned. She woke Samuel. He went to the window, then reached for his phone. No. Maya grabbed his wrist. They suspended you. If they see you out there, they will say you trespassed. Samuel stared at her. When did you become the cautious one? When you became the unemployed one? Despite everything, he almost smiled. They photographed the truck from the window. Maya zoomed in on the rear plate. It matched the first photograph. Then she noticed something else. A small hazard placard reflected the headlights. She searched the number, corrosive liquid. Samuel called the state hotline again. An operator documented the information, but said inspectors could not arrive until morning. The truck left after 40 minutes. At sunrise, Samuel walked to the service ditch from the public road. Fresh tire tracks crossed the mud. Blue-gray liquid stained the gravel near a drainage grate. Maya filled a jar while he photographed the area. They brought the sample to Elena. She rushed the test. The contamination level was nearly 30 times higher than the previous drainage sample. "This is active dumping," she said. Samuel called Adrian's executive office again. A receptionist transferred him to Victor's division. He hung up. Maya watched him. "His people control who reaches Mr. Halston, apparently. Then we go where Mr. Halston is." "The ceremony." Samuel shook his head. "We are banned from the estate. I am not an employee. You live on the estate. I am invited through the school." Samuel stared at her. Her middle school science club had indeed been invited to the learning center opening. "Maya, you told me proof protects people who ask difficult questions. It can. Then let me ask." He wanted to say no. He wanted to pack their cottage, drive away, and let regulators clean up the problem after people with salaries and lawyers decided it was safe to care. Then he looked at Renee's old field notebook sitting on the table. On the cover, she had written a sentence Maya copied into every science project. "If the evidence scares you, look closer." Samuel exhaled. "We do this carefully." Saturday morning arrived after a week of rain. The Halston estate looked perfect. White tents lined the lawn. The learning center's glass walls reflected blue sky. Reporters gathered near a stage overlooking the ornamental lake. Children's paper boats sat in baskets along the shore. Samuel remained outside the property. His suspension barred him. Maya entered with her school's science club, wearing a yellow volunteer badge. Inside her backpack were copies of Elena's laboratory reports, photographs of the tanker, the license plate, the hazard placard, and the drainage stain. She also carried one fresh water sample. Her plan was simple: to find Adrian Halston, hand him the evidence, leave. Victor changed the plan without knowing it. When Maya arrived near the lake, she saw 3 workers connecting a temporary fountain line. The hose came directly from the contaminated retention system. The fountain sprayed a fine mist into the air beside the children's activity area. Maya ran to the nearest event worker. "Turn that off." The worker laughed. "Excuse me? The water is contaminated." "Where is your teacher? Please turn it off." Victor appeared. He recognized her immediately. His expression remained pleasant because cameras were nearby. "Maya, I thought your family was leaving." She held up the jar. "This water is unsafe." "Unsafes." Victor lowered his voice. "You need to leave. Mr. Halston needs to see the report. He already has." That stopped her. "No, he doesn't." Victor smiled. "You think your father discovered something nobody else understands? Industrial estates monitor water constantly. The readings are controlled. Then why did you suspend him?" "I did not fire him. I suspended an employee who stole confidential materials. The report belonged to us. Go back to your group." Maya looked toward the stage. Adrian had just arrived. She moved toward him. Victor caught her backpack strap. "Do not embarrass yourself." Maya turned. "My mom used to say embarrassment is survivable." She slipped one arm from the backpack and left Victor holding it. Then she ran. Adrian was greeting the mayor when Maya reached the platform. Security intercepted her. "Mr. Halston." Adrian looked over. Victor followed, carrying the backpack. "Apologies," he said. "Employee family issue." Maya shouted the only sentence she could fit before security moved her. "That water isn't safe, sir." The crowd quieted. Adrian stepped down. He asked her to repeat it. She did. Victor dismissed her warning. Then the koi fish surfaced. Maya told Adrian she had proof. Victor's face changed. Maya reached for her backpack. Victor still held it. "Give it back." "Maya," he said carefully. "You are confused." Adrian looked at him. "Give her the bag." Victor obeyed. Maya removed the laboratory report. Adrian read the first page. His brow tightened. Who is Dr. Elena Park? My mom's friend. Environmental chemist. Victor stepped in. Adrian, these tests are unofficial and collected without chain of custody controls. Adrian kept reading. Why is Samuel Lewis suspended? Victor hesitated. Separate personnel matter. What matter? He accessed restricted infrastructure. Maya interrupted. He photographed a tanker dumping chemicals. Victor looked at her. Adrian looked up. What tanker? Maya showed him the photographs. Adrian recognized the service gate. That road is closed. It opens at night, Maya said. Victor took a breath. Adrian, we should handle this privately. Why? Because press cameras are running and an unverified environmental allegation can damage the company before facts are established. Adrian stared at his partner, then established them. He turned toward event staff. Stop the lake activities. Shut off that fountain. Victor moved closer. You are overreacting. Adrian's eyes narrowed. To dead fish and a lab report? To a child. Maya heard it, so did Adrian. His expression changed. Victor, I meant a child's interpretation. No, you meant she was easier to dismiss. The fountain shut down. Parents moved children away from the shore. Reporters began asking questions. Victor whispered, If you do this publicly, Halston Global's stock will lose billions Monday. Adrian looked at the lake. The water is poisoned. Billions are not the emergency. For the first time, Victor lost his composure. You have no idea what is at stake. Maya watched him. Then tell him. Victor turned toward her with open anger. Adrian noticed. Security, stay with Maya. Victor walked toward the operations building. Adrian followed. Maya followed both until security stopped her. 10 minutes later, sirens sounded at the estate entrance. Not environmental inspectors, an ambulance. 3 children near the science tent had developed nausea and dizziness. They had been filling jars from a demonstration table supplied by the same retention line. One had rinsed his hands before eating. Maya's stomach dropped. Adrian saw the paramedics and turned white. How much exposure? A medic said they did not know. Victor reappeared. This is panic. Heat, excitement, nothing more. Maya looked at him. You knew? Victor ignored her. Adrian did not. What did you know? Victor's jaw tightened. Nothing that justifies this theater. Adrian grabbed his arm. What did you know? Cameras recorded the moment. Victor pulled free. Do not touch me. Maya saw a black SUV moving toward the service road. The same security guard who opened the maintenance gate was driving. In the rear cargo area, she glimpsed document boxes. They're taking something. Adrian turned. Maya pointed. Victor shouted. The driver accelerated. Estate security blocked the main gate. The SUV turned onto the lawn, tore through a flower bed, and stopped when 2 patrol vehicles boxed it against a stone wall. Inside were shredded manifests, hard drives, chemical transport logs, and a burner phone. The guard surrendered. Victor did not. He told Adrian that rogue managers at the battery plant had hidden waste disposal violations from both of them. Adrian almost believed him. Then Maya remembered the first email. Victor's assistant had answered Samuel's question about the tanker within 20 minutes. She searched her phone for the screenshot Samuel had sent Elena. Mr. Halston. Adrian turned. This came from his office before my dad ever accused anyone. She showed him. Adrian read it. Victor's expression hardened. Administrative staff answer hundreds of messages. The message says private infrastructure work, Maya said. How would your assistant know that if your office didn't know about the truck? Victor looked at her with something close to hatred. Adrian saw it. Do not look at her like that. Victor laughed bitterly. 23 years, Adrian. We built everything together. And now you are taking the word of a gardener's daughter over mine. No. Adrian held up the report. I am taking evidence over your word. The state environmental team arrived 30 minutes later. after local emergency services escalated the complaint. They closed the lake and retention system. Preliminary instruments confirmed dangerous metal and solvent levels. The drinking water system remained separate and safe. The event was canceled. Guests left through a line of news cameras. Maya sat on the learning center steps, holding Renee's field notebook. Samuel arrived from the public road after Adrian authorized security to admit him. He crossed the lawn quickly. Maya stood. He did not ask about the cameras. He did not ask whether Victor had been arrested. He checked her hands first. Did you touch the water? Gloves. Any splash on your face? No. Are you dizzy? No. Then he hugged her. You were supposed to hand him the report and leave. I tried. You challenged a billionaire's business partner on live television. He challenged me first. Samuel closed his eyes. That sounds exactly like your mother. Adrian approached. Samuel released Maya. Mr. Lewis, you suspended me. Yes. You let children near that lake after I reported contamination. Adrian did not defend himself. I did. Samuel's anger sharpened. You did not know? No. You chose someone else to know for you. The sentence landed harder than shouting. Adrian looked toward Victor, now speaking with investigators beneath a security tent. Yes. Samuel folded his arms. What happens now? We find out how far this goes. The answer reached farther than expected. Investigators discovered that Halston Global's battery plant had exceeded the capacity of its waste treatment system 18 months earlier. Replacing the system required a shutdown that would threaten a government contract worth billions. Victor created another solution. A contractor called Meridian Recovery collected contaminated liquid under false recycling manifests. Tankers moved it at night into abandoned drains, quarry pits, and, finally, the estate's old retention network. Victor believed land owned by Adrian would attract less scrutiny than an industrial site. The hard drives from the SUV contained payment records. The burner phone contained Victor's instructions: delay replacement until contract secured. Estate reservoir offers temporary capacity. If Lewis keeps asking, remove him before opening event. One message had been sent that morning: keep child activities away from direct shoreline. Optics matter. Maya read that sentence only once. Victor had known children would be near the water. He had not intended to hurt them. He had simply decided the possibility was acceptable. He was arrested on charges involving illegal hazardous waste disposal, conspiracy, falsifying environmental records, and reckless endangerment. Several managers and contractors followed. Halston Global's stock collapsed. The government suspended the battery contract. Thousands of workers feared layoffs. Adrian visited Samuel and Maya at the cottage while half-packed boxes still covered the floor. He placed Samuel's employment file on the table. Your suspension is canceled. Full back pay. Samuel did not touch it. And our home? The cottage is yours independently of employment. That sounds like guilt. It is correction. Samuel looked toward Maya. Correction is not giving us things because you feel bad. Adrian was quiet. What is it? Maya closed her work. My mother used to say bad systems survive because the person who notices something has to report it to the same people who benefit from ignoring it. Adrian listened. So change that. How? Make safety reports go somewhere executives cannot delete them. Publish water tests. Let workers stop dangerous operations without asking the person losing money. Adrian nodded. What else? Test every farm near every place those tankers went. We will. And do not call it charity. What should I call it? Responsibility. Within a month, Halston Global created an independent environmental authority with power to stop production. Hazardous waste records became externally auditable. Water and soil data around facilities were published. Executive bonuses funded cleanup and wages during the plant shutdown. Adrian did not protect the company from consequences. He let them arrive. Samuel returned to the gardens only after independent ecologists took control of the lake restoration. Maya visited them after school. She learned how contaminated sediment was removed, how reeds filtered runoff, and how ecosystems remembered damage longer than newspapers remembered scandals. The koi were not replaced. Not until the lake can support them, Maya said. Samuel smiled. Your mother would approve. 9 months later, the Learning Center reopened. There was no champagne platform beside the water. The first exhibit was called The Warning Table. A clean glass jar stood beside Maya's original test strip, the tanker photograph, and Renee's field notebook. The wall listed everyone who helped expose the contamination. Samuel, Dr. Elena Park, laboratory technicians, regulators, workers who testified, and the emergency operator who escalated the complaint. At the bottom was one sentence. Warnings work only when somebody is willing to hear them. Adrian found Maya beside the restored lake, teaching younger students to read test strips. You trust the official report? He asked. Yes, then why keep testing? Trust isn't the same as stopping. He looked across the water. You changed my company. Maya shook her head. Getting caught changed your company. You decided what happened after. Adrian accepted that. 1 year later, Maya entered a state science competition with a project called What Water Remembers. A judge asked what first made her suspicious. Maya thought about the dead frogs, the tanker, the strange soil, and Victor's warning. The first clue wasn't the water, she said. What was it? Someone telling us not to ask about it. The audience fell silent. People remembered the gardener's daughter who faced a billionaire and said, "That water isn't safe, sir." They called her fearless. Maya knew better. Her hands had shaken. She had feared losing her home, her father's job, and being laughed at by adults with power. Her mother had never taught her that evidence removed fear. Renee taught her that evidence gave fear something useful to do. Samuel had never taught her to challenge billionaires. He taught her not to accuse without proof. Prooperine. And Adrian did not become trustworthy because he finally believed a child. He became more trustworthy only when he built a system where evidence no longer needed a billionaire's attention before it mattered. Years later, the Learning Center still kept one ordinary jar of water on the warning table. Its label contained 2 words. Look closer. Children often asked Maya why plain water deserved a place in a science center. She always answered the same way. Because ordinary things become dangerous when everyone important agrees not to notice. Samuel would hear her, look toward the restored lake, and remember the day his daughter walked into a ceremony built to celebrate wealth, and reminded the most powerful man there that truth did not become important when he heard it. It had been important while it was still a whisper beside the roses.